In this video, we're going to talk about the slope-intercept form of a line and also about parallel and perpendicular lines. Now, the slope-intercept form of a line is given by y equals mx plus b, where m, the coefficient of x, is the slope of the line and b is the y-intercept. So here we've got some fill in the blanks that you might want to put into your notes. So y equals mx plus b is called the slope-intercept form of a line. Two lines are parallel if they have the same slope. So parallel lines have equal slopes, and we're going to be using that information to work some problems later on. Two lines are perpendicular if the product of their slopes is -1. That means that when you multiply the two slopes from the two lines, you get a -1 answer. And so you're going to see later on that this means that the slopes are opposite reciprocals of each other. All right, in this exercise, we are going to write the slope-intercept form of the line if all we have given is the graph. So we need m and we need b. It's pretty clear that the y-intercept is 2 because you can see that the line crosses the y-axis at 2. You can also see that our line falls as it goes from left to right, so that's a negative slope. And now we're going to pick 2 points, two nice points, I like to call them, on the line. We're going to count the rise and the run and then that way we'll have the slope. So I've marked them here in yellow, and you can see that we're going to go down 4 and right 2. So our slope is -2 when we reduce, when we simplify. So our slope-intercept form, it's y equals mx plus b, and now we're going to substitute our m, which is -2, and our b, which is +2. So y equals -2x plus 2 is the equation of the line in the graph. Okay, now it says here, write the equation in slope-intercept form of the line having the slope and y-intercept indicated. So slope is -1, that gives us our m. Y-intercept is 5. That gives us our b, so we like these problems. They're pretty easy. Substitute right in, and we get y equals -1x plus 5. But convention is that we don't write a 1 coefficient in front of the variable, so if you write y equals -x plus 5, you'll be doing great. Okay, the next example, slope is 2 and y-intercept is 0, so m is 2, b is 0. So y equals 2x plus 0, and again, you know that 2x plus 0 is just 2x, so that's our slope-intercept form. Okay, now we have an equation of a line, and we have to put it in the slope-intercept form, and then give what the slope and the y-intercept of the line are. So basically what that means is we want to solve for y, because if we solve this equation for y, we will have the slope-intercept form of the line. So we're going to move the x over to the other side, which means we're going to subtract x. So we have -2y equals -x plus 4. And then we need to get rid of this coefficient -2, so we're going to divide by -2 every term. And of course here we're going to get 1y, which is y. And over here we have a -1 divided by -2, which is a +1/2 x. So x over 2 is the same thing as 1/2 x. And 4 divided by -2 is -2. So our slope is 1/2, coefficient of x, and our y-intercept is -2. Okay, for the next problem, again we're going to solve for y. We need to move over the -5x, makes it +5x to go to the other side of the equation. You always have the opposite to move things. And let's see, then we need to get rid of the coefficient 3 of y, so we're going to divide every term by 3. That here is going to give us y, and here we're going to get 5/3 x, and then 15 divided by 3 is a 5. So that tells us that our slope is 5/3 and our y-intercept is 5. Okay, now we're going to write the equation in slope-intercept form, and then we're going to graph it. So again, we're going to solve for y. So we need to move over the 4x, becomes a negative 4x. So negative 3y equals negative 4x plus 12. And we're going to have to divide by this negative 3 coefficient so that we can have just y. We have to do that to all the terms. So we get y. This is 1y, so y equals, and a negative 4 divided by a negative 3 is a positive 4/3. X, that's our slope there. And let's see, positive 12 divided by negative 3, which is a negative 4. So slope is 4/3. Y-intercept is negative 4. And we know that that means that the coordinates of that intercept is 0. There's 0, negative 4. And we're going to use that y-intercept as the starting point and then use the slope to get more points on the line so that we can graph it. So 0, negative 4. Let's put a point there. And then over here we know that the slope is positive 4/3. We expect our line to rise. So we're going to go up 4 and right 3. So from our y-intercept, we count up 4, right 3, put a point there, and now we're going to connect those 2 points, and that'll give us the graph of our line. So I got to use this line tool here. Let's see how I do. Okay, kind of close. All right. So connect the 2 points, and you have your graph of your line. For our next problem, we have a word problem. But don't let it freak you out. It's the same thing. It says here, production of a certain item involves fixed costs of $34,000 plus $120 for each item made. So how much does it cost to produce 2,000 items? Well, we know that for each item, it costs $120. Maybe that might be materials, who knows. And so you're going to multiply, because we need to figure out how much total. We're going to multiply with $120 times the 2,000 items we have, and that's going to give us $240,000 there just to produce those. But we have fixed costs, and that could be anything like rent or salaries or something like that. So then we got to add those fixed costs to our $240,000. And so that's going to give us that to produce 2,000 items costs us $274,000. Now in part B, they want us to write the slope-intercept form that gives the cost to produce X items. And so instead of 2,000 items, we have X items. But we're going to do the same thing. We're going to multiply the X by the 120, just like we did in part A. And we have to add on the fixed cost of $34,000. And that is going to be equal to y. We're going to let y be the cost to produce the items. So that gives us a slope-intercept form of the equation. And now we're going to use that equation that is for part C, where it says the cost is $454,000. How many items were produced? So we have y and we're looking for x. So substitute in the $454,000 for y. And now we're going to solve for x, so we subtract the $34,000 from the $454,000. And so here we have $420,000 to produce 120 items. And so we need to divide by 120 so we can figure out how many items there are. And when you divide 420,000 by 120, we get that we have 3,500 items that were produced. Okay, now we're going to talk about parallel and perpendicular lines. Do a couple of problems. It says here, find the slope-intercept form for the line satisfying the given conditions. We're looking for a line that's parallel to x plus 2y equals 5, and that passes through 3, negative 2. So the fact that you know that it's parallel to x plus 2y equals 5 means that they have equal slopes. So let's put this first line in slope-intercept form so that we can find the slope. So the slope then is negative 1/2. And so we're going to use m equals negative 1/2. Remember, parallel lines have equal slopes. And so let's substitute in what we've got. We know y equals negative 1/2 x plus b, but we don't have the y-intercept. So we're going to have to solve for this b. And we're going to use the point that we do have, which is 3, negative 2. And we're going to substitute that into the equation. So let's see, y is negative 2 equals negative 1/2 times x. X is 3 plus b. And we're solving for b. Now over here, this multiplication here, this is a fraction, so helps if you put the 3 as 3 over 1 and then multiply across. So you have negative 2 equals negative 3 over 2 plus b. And because we're solving for b, we're going to have to add that 3/2 to the negative 2 so that we can move it over to the other side. So negative 2 plus 3/2. And if you're not good with fractions, bring up your graphing calculator. I'm going to show you how to use that again. I'm going to remind you. And so you're going to go negative 2 plus, and then just to be safe, let's put that parentheses around the fraction. Sometimes we need it, sometimes we don't. If you don't want to mess with when you need it, just put it in. Then we go to the math menu to fractions so that we get our answer in fraction form. And so b is negative 1/2. So our slope-intercept form, y equals negative 1/2 x minus 1/2. Okay, we've got 17 here. It says, find a line that's perpendicular to y equals 3x plus 2 and passes through the origin. So we need the equation of that line. Now, this is nice that our line here is already in slope-intercept form, so we know that its slope is 3. But perpendicular lines are opposite reciprocals of each other. In other words, they need to multiply to give negative 1. So we are going to look at this slope. This slope is positive 3, and we need the opposite of that, which is a negative. And we need the reciprocal of 3, which is 1/3. So negative 1/3. Now let's check that, because when I multiply these two slopes, we should get a negative 1. And so this here, I get negative 3 over 3, which you know is negative 1. So yeah, this checks. We've got the right slopes. So we're going to use m equals negative 1/3 for our line. And so we have y equals negative 1/3 x plus b. We need to solve for b, but we know that our line goes to the origin, and the origin is the point 0, 0. So substitute in there for x and y, and so b equals 0. So y equals negative 1/3 x is the equation of our line.